Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Vishnu Sahasranama, name 819, Amrtasah. Amrit is a well-known word. Refers to that which Amrit, not dying, not dead, undying, eternal. And it also refers to nectar, some drink which is very sweet and tasty. And the word asha, now this is not asha. Asha means hope, desire, expectation, but this is asha. It's a verb which means to eat. Sometimes when I was traveling in Bengal, we'd hear the word niramishashi, which means the same as niramish bhoji, one who eats only food which is uncontaminated, or specifically not meat, fish, eggs, garlic, onions, mushrooms, or any such other nasty things. So, the name Amrtasah means one who himself takes or eats Amrit, or one who gives Amrita to others. An alternate reading for this name is Amritangsha. Angsha means part. In the Madhva Sampradaya we have an explanation of this name. Amritam sukhasaram ashnati iti amritangsha. Amritam means sukhasaram, the essence of all bliss. And who drinks that or eats that? The essence of all bliss is called Amritangsha. Quoting from Madhvacharya's commentary on Vedanta Sutras, in which he quotes from Padma Purana, to say that Sri Hari takes all the good things, all the positive and auspicious things, but never the negative and inauspicious things. Purnananda mayasyasya cheshta na gyayate kvachit. But it's impossible to understand him. Parashara Bhatta, usually I quote him first of all in these series of talks. The first Sri Vaishnava commentator on Vishnu Sahasranama. He takes it to mean he who feeds his devotees. Now we know very well Mother Yashoda feeds Krishna. She feeds him very nice foods. So in that way he takes Amrita. Very, very nice food. You know this song, this Shukta Shakadi Bhaji Nalita Kushmanda Dali Dalna Dugdha Tumbi Dadi Mocha Kanda. There's a list of some of the items Krishna takes in Nanda Bhavan. But that's his breakfast. You know that? That's his breakfast. We often sing this at the Bhoga Arati at lunchtime, but at lunchtime he's out in the fields. So he's not at Nanda Bhavan. That's his breakfast. Or you could say his supper also. But he takes a big breakfast because he's a hungry boy. And his devotees are very anxious to feed him. Then he goes out at lunchtime and he takes tiffin with him. And the gopis also prepare so many items for him to take. Then he comes back at night and eats again. And he doesn't get indigestion, generally speaking. Although even thinking of all the things that Krishna eats, if I had to eat them, yeah. Everyone please put off your cell phone. Agar abhi tak aapka priya cell phone band nahi kiya, to abhi jara sa thoda tapasya kare aur usko band kar do. Great tapasya in Kali Yuga, to put your cell phone off for half an hour. So Krishna likes to eat. He can eat so many nectarian things. And he likes to feed his devotees. Specifically in this regard, Parashar Bhatta says he feeds his devotees with the nectar of himself, the nectar of his transcendental qualities. Krishna is so nectarian that sometimes we see baby Krishna, he sucks his own toe. Now the mothers, they've all seen their babies sucking their toes. It's a common pastime of babies. But when Krishna does it, he thinks, all my devotees are very anxious for the nectar of my lotus feet. It must be pretty good. Let me try it out and see. So he sucks his toe as he lies on a leaf, banyan leaf, on the water of devastation, drinking the nectar of his own feet. And he gives that to his devotees. Our Gauriya Vaishnava commentator on this name, on Vishnu Sahasranama, Baladev Vidyabhushan, specifically states that ayachitam, amritam ayachitam moksham ashayati bhojayati bhaktaniti amrtasah. He ayachit, without even asking for it, without them even asking for it, he gives moksha. He gives moksha to his devotees. Pure devotees, they don't ask for moksha from Krishna. But anyway, he gives it. That's his mercy. We bathe the deities in panchamrita, milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, and sugar water, a mixture. It sounds quite intoxicating, just even the sound of it. Panchamrita is so nice to drink, but we use that for bathing the deities. But we give to Krishna also to drink, but we also use it for bathing him. Then we can take charanamrita. There's also panchagavya, which is, again, milk, ghee, yogurt, but also mixed with cow's urine, and then the water mixed with the cow's excreta. So after bathing Krishna with these items, the devotees take charanamrita. So in this way, Krishna feeds his devotees with amrita. He drinks the nectar of Srimati Radharani's lips. This is not given by any of the commentators, but it's true. That's the nectar. Srila Prabhupada translates the Shikshashtaka, first verse. Puranamritasvadanam, that enables us to taste the full nectar for which we are always anxious. The words always anxious don't appear in the Sanskrit. Srila Prabhupada gives that as a commentary intertwined with the translation. Krishna, so we learn from our acharyas. Otherwise, what can we know about Krishna, especially the inner desires of Krishna? Krishna is always anxious to drink the nectar of Srimati Radharani's lips. And she is always anxious to taste the nectar of his lips. That means by kissing. And he gives the nectar to her, and he enjoys the nectar of his lips. In Sankhya philosophy, there is consideration of Purusha and Prakriti. It is considered there is nothing but Purusha and Prakriti, male and female principle. That's also there we find in Bhagavad Gita, Purusha Prakriti Stohi. Here Purusha refers to the conditioned soul who is stuck in material nature. Krishna, especially in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is established as Purushottam. He's the topmost Purusha, or male, or Purushottam can also mean he's above all other Purushas. Krishna is the primordial, archetypal, original male, and Radha is the original embodiment of femininity. The masculine principle is one of strength, physical strength, and mental solidity. And the essence of femininity is beauty and sweetness. So Krishna is the original male, very powerful, very strong, very solid, and Radha is the original female, all sweet and all beautiful. So the mixture of the two, Purusha and Prakriti, in social life, family life, the man is to take charge, to take responsibility, to care for and protect the woman, and she is to serve him. Krishna is the highest Purusha, the highest male. The highest power is the power of God, and he uses that not just to oversee a household, as a little Purusha does in this world, or maybe a great king oversees a whole kingdom, powerful king oversees a whole kingdom, but Krishna employs his power to create, maintain, regulate the whole universe. And especially to protect those who approach him with love, his devotees. When he comes in contact with Radha, especially with Radha, who is so sweet, then his power, the exhibition of power becomes diminished, and the sweetness of Krishna becomes manifested to such an extent that his sweetness appears to eclipse his power. This is the most confidential aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vrindavan. That although he is the supremely powerful Lord, but Madhurja Bhagavatasar, the essence of his Godhead, his godliness, is of his being, the supreme all-opulent personality, is his sweetness. And this is manifest in Vrindavan. And he becomes so attracted to the sweetness of his female counterpart, Sri Radha, that it seems as if he's powerless before her. the power of her love overcomes the power of his controlling millions of universes, so that he becomes as if her servant, controlled by love. The whole universe, the spiritual and material worlds, are under the control of Krishna. But by the power of Radha's love, Krishna comes under her control. So the power of her sweetness overcomes his power as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the material world, everything is a perverse reflection. Actually, all living beings are by nature Prakriti, inasmuch as they are meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. But everyone who comes in this material world has the conception of being a Purusha, an enjoyer of this world. So even the women, or those who are presently in the body of a woman in this world, they also want power. So between man and woman, unless it's properly regulated, with proper understanding of the proper role of men and women in society, then it becomes a power struggle, often subtle power struggle. And women often use their sexual attraction to gain power over men. Srila Prabhupada said that Caesar was so powerful, he had a huge empire, but just by the fluttering of Cleopatra's eyebrows, he became conquered. In this way she could tell him what to do. No one could tell him what to do. But this, as in the present age, not so much here because things are more restricted here, but the overt sexuality of women, they're showing off their bodies in a very gross and vulgar way, that diminishes their femininity. But in Vrindavan, in the land of Krishna, it's perfect sweetness, perfect power balance. Because they're not thinking of power. Both Radha and Krishna simply love each other. Everyone in Vrindavan loves Krishna. Love is the essence. That is the sweetness, the nectar for which we are always anxious. In this material world, we try to get happiness, but we simply find distress because we mistake sensual happiness to be actual happiness. But it's actually poison. Karma kanda, jnana kanda, kevala bishara bhanda, amrita baliya jeba kai. Narottam Thakur comments that following the path, even of pious sense gratification, or even of the path of spirituality devoid of a sense of Krishna consciousness, it's just like poison pots. And those who drink from those poison pots, they think it's very nice, they think it's amrita, but it's not. I'm reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis speaking to Krishna. Sinchanganas twad adharamrita purakerna hasavaloka kalagita ja hrich chayagnim. That word adharamrita means the nectar. Adhara means lips. So, the gopis say, O dear Krishna, by your smiling glances and melodious talk, you have awakened a fire of lusty desire in our hearts. Now you should extinguish that fire with a stream of nectar from your lips by kissing us. These are very exalted topics. We should never mistake the dealings between Krishna and the gopis to be mundane. They are super mundane. From Rupa Goswami's Vidagdha Madhava, very first verse. The very first verse, Sudhanam. Sudha means, it's another word for Amrita. So the very first word of Vidagdha Madhava, played by Rupa Goswami, his very first word is Sudhanam. That means Amrita, nectar. Sudhanam chandrinam api madhurimanonmadadamani tadhana radhadi pranaya ghana sarai surabhitam samantat santap odgama vishama sangsara sarani pranitang te trishnang haratu harilila shikharini. Shikharini also gives the idea of what we call Srikhand. So it's also a very nectarian preparation. So the translation of this is given: may the pastimes of Sri Krishna reduce the miseries existing in the material world and nullify all unwanted desires. The pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like shikarini, a blend of yogurt and sugar candy. They overpower the pride of even the nectar produced on the moon, for they distribute the sweet fragrance of the concentrated loving affairs of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. Shastra describes that on the moon there are rivers of Amrita, rivers of nectar. But Rupa Goswami says that the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, they, especially of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, the nectar there, the nectar of those pastimes makes the rivers of nectar on the moon seem to be insignificant. Another verse from Vidagdha Madhava about the nectar of the name of Krishna, which Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us the nectar of his holy names. And he personally tastes the nectar of the holy names. Regarding this, Rupa Goswami states in a fairly famous verse, it's fairly famous because it's quoted, Rupa Goswami himself states this verse at the request of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll find in the first chapter of Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Tunde tandavani rating vitanute tundavali labdhaye karna kraura kadambini gatayate karnara buddhebhya spriham chetaf prangan sangani vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim Najane janita kiyadbhir amritai krishneti varna dvai. Again, you heard the word amrita. This is how Rupa Goswami is experiencing the holy name. We aspire for his mercy that we may also chant the holy name with such relish. So he says, here's a translation. This is the translation actually given by Srila Prabhupada. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables, Krishna, have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears, karna kraura. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind and therefore all the senses become inert. So how to overcome that wicked mind and sensual attraction? Here's Rupa Goswami's nectarian solution. If we can relish the nectar of the holy name, then automatically the wicked activities of the mind and the senses will become subdued. Again from Vidagdha Madhava, another verse about nectar, the nectar that Krishna enjoys and distributes to his devotees. Pida bhir navakala kuta katutta garavasya nirvasano nisyandena mudang sudha madhuri mahankara sankochanaha prema sundari nandanandana paro jagarti yasyantare nyayante sputang asya vakra madhurastenaiva vikrantayaha. Here the word for Amrita is again Sudha. My dear beautiful friend, if one develops love of God, love of Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, all the bitter and sweet influences of this love will manifest in one's heart. Such love of Godhead acts in two ways. That's prema. It acts in two ways. The poison, now you're going to think, what are the two ways? Well, the first way doesn't sound very nice. The poisonous effects of love of Godhead. Krishna prema is compared to poison. The poisonous effects of love of Godhead defeat the severe and fresh poison of the serpent, yet there is simultaneously transcendental bliss, which pours down and defeats the poisonous effects of a snake, as well as the happiness derived from pouring nectar on one's head. It is perceived as doubly effective, simultaneously poisonous and nectarian. So this is very high-level discussions. How the gopis, they sometimes think that love of Krishna is like poison, because when we're separated from him, we feel such pain in our heart. This is the gopis, not me. I don't feel pain in my heart. I'm going on with life, not feeling pain in my heart. But we can at least, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, hear about the gopis, hear about their exalted love, and bow down to them. Another meaning of the name Amrtasah. Amrit we know very well from the 8th canto of Bhagavatam and other shastras, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Amrit was produced from the churning of the milk ocean. The demigods and the demons, they combined to produce nectar from the milk ocean. And as is well known, Mohini Murti, she distributed that nectar to the demigods only, cheating the demons. Although Rahu and Ketu got a little bit. So in this way he gave nectar. This is mundane nectar, not spiritual nectar, but less known, at least we don't find in the Bhagavatam stated, is that he himself, or she herself, because he's in a female form as Mohini, also drank that nectar. He gave them prasadam. That's real nectar. Better to take Krishna prasada. There's a discussion we'll find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the same word is used, Adharamrita, how the gopis, they like to take the nectar from Krishna's lips. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is stating how he's taking Jagannath Prasad and seeing, oh, it's just completely nectar. Krishna Prasada, food offered to Krishna, is just like nectar. Even though it's cooked with the same ingredients, as non-devotees prepare their food with, at least vegetarians. The rice, dal, spices, sugar, milk and milk products. But Krishna Prasad has a special flavor. It becomes especially nectarian because it's mixed with the nectar of Krishna's lips. Krishna eats it and he gives it back to us. So that's why Krishna Prasada tastes so good. I remember in the 1970s, before I came to stay in India, I was traveling. Sometimes I would travel in parts of England, or one time I was with Mahaman Prabhu, who's serving in India now. And other times I would go with Narahari, different God brother. Narahari's now in Narahari. I'd go with Narahari and his wife. They're both in Australia now. For enrolling life members, which would go to mostly to Gujaratis living in Britain, Punjabis sometimes, and especially when I was out traveling with Mahamantha, that was North England, a long way from any temple, and people liked to invite us, so they would provide very nice meals for us to eat. All fancy items, Indian-style items, which I myself was not familiar with at the time. Mahaman Prabhu was familiar with because he's Indian-bodied, Punjabi from Africa. So very nice preparations they'd cook. But we always thought that although it's very attractive for the tongue, it just didn't feel the same as prasada, because mostly these people at that time, many of our life members, they eventually became practicing devotees. But at that time, they weren't devotees, at least not practicing devotees of Krishna, not strictly practicing. They're pious people, but not strictly practicing devotees. And just, even though it's so nicely prepared, but just not the same as prasadam. We'd go back to the temple and say, oh, that's much better. So as devotees, we are committed, or aspiring devotees, we are committed to take only prasadam, only food which is cooked by properly practicing devotees and offered with love to Krishna. That can be a great challenge for some of you who are working in the camps. But it's an important principle of devotional service. You may say, well, in that way we cut ourselves off. There are so many varieties of chocolates you can buy, and crisps, and there's Haldirams. There are Haldirams here in Kuwait. Whoops, I'm not supposed to say I'm in Kuwait. Must be. There. Jaha Bharatiya Waha Haldiram bhi hai. Must be. It's. When I was growing up, I always used to think, we got the propaganda that people in India are starving, and but when I came to India, I found they're always eating. It seems to be like a 24-hour hobby of Indians. So many items. You go on the street, and in Bombay there's that, what's that called? Vada is there, especially in South India. What's that? Puri, Pani Puri. And in Bengal there's the Masala Muri, Mishti Doi. So many items. And the Western people have come up with so many items also. Pizzas and lasagna and spaghetti and all kinds of things. But we take Krishna Prasadam. We may say that we're cutting ourselves off from so many items that we could take. The ice cream shop is there. Baskin Robbins, 50-something varieties. Is that here also? Maybe. Probably. But we don't take, because we want to take only food which is prepared with love for Krishna. And we're not, Even if we take only items prepared from grains, vegetables, dal, oil or ghee and spices and sugar and milk products, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of preparations. And when I come here, all the ladies, they cook with love. I think they want to cook thousands of preparations. But anyway, they cook more than I can manage to take. With love, it's offered to Krishna. So there's no shortage. A famous saying, Bhagavan ka bhandar mein koi abhav nahi hai. There's no shortage in Bhagavan's storeroom. You can practically see that if you go to Nathdwara, so much ghee is coming in, so many rice and dal and so many things coming in. So better we take the nectar of Krishna Prasadam. Otherwise, there's no end to the desires of the tongue. And tar modhe, what is that? Sharira vidyajal jarende tahe kal. Jive fele bishaya sagare. The body is a network of ignorance, sharira, and within which the mundane senses are like a death, a dangerous snake of death, the mundane senses. And in this way, we are thrown into the ocean of sense gratification. But Krishna, being very merciful, and among all the senses, the tongue is very voracious and difficult to control. But Krishna is very merciful, and he kindly gives us his prasadam, so that we can conquer over the tongue. So we're talking about the highest level of Krishna and Radha kissing, sharing the nectar of each other's lips. Down at our level, we have to appreciate the nectar of Krishna's lips in the form of his prasadam and be committed to take only food that is properly cooked and offered to Krishna. Shankaracharya, he interprets the word as asha, as asha, which means desire or will. So he says one who is always Amrita, undying, an undying desire to give fruit, to give Amrita Asha. Amrita Asha. He has a desire. Amrita Avinashvara Falatvat Asha Vancha Asya Iti Amrita Ashaha. One who has a desire to give lasting fruit or benefit to everyone is Amrita Asha. Another way this can be understood, his desires or wishes are failure proof. If he wants to give you something, he'll give it. You can't tell him no. Srila Prabhupada quoted his father, saying in a very simple way, that God has 10 hands and you have 2 hands. If you want to hold on to something and he wants to take it away, you can't do anything. And if he wants to give you, how much can you take? How much nectar can we take? Another meaning, there are so many meanings. One who is dear to the liberated souls. Asha can mean desire or attachment, and Amrita can mean those who are liberated. Amrita, they're not dying. So one who is desired by or very dear to those who are liberated. That's another meaning. So you see, just one name and so many meanings. And then another meaning given by Satyadevo Vashishta. He often gives meanings in relation to the Supreme Lord's overseeing the material creation. So he gives the meaning that he provides an unending Amrita supply of the means of survival for all living beings in the creation. He continuously gives everything that we need, beginning with food. Anad bhavanti bhutani. All living beings require food. So he gives food and everything else. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahanam yo viditati kaman. He gives food and everything else to all living beings within the material world. Another meaning, again, I said at the beginning, from the Madhva Sampradaya, they give Amritangsha as an alternative meaning of this name. So, they give the meaning that he has, Bhagavan, Vishnu, has eternal, immortal angshas or expansions. Means ever-existing expansions such as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, and so on. So that is a summary, an overview of the name Amrtasah from Vishnu Sahasranama with the possible alternative meaning Amritangsha. It could be expanded practically unlimitedly, but I'll finish there. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dante nitaya chirakang padayo nipatya kritva chaka kushatame tadaham bravimi. Hey sadhava sakala eva vihaya durad gauranga chandra charne kurutanuradaha. Parivadatu jano yata tata va nanumukaro navayang vicharayamaha. Harirasa madira madati mata bhuvi vilutama nartama nirvishama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Question is here. Okay, tell me and I'll repeat it.
Hare Krishna. As Maharaj, you explained in regards with making sure that whatever we have to offer it to Lord and then we can have it. And when we come across a situation when we have a small baby at home, where we
this is not really the subject of Vishnu Sahasranama. You have a small baby at home.
So
offer the baby to Krishna.
That's by default, Maharaj.
In a different way.
Certainly.
Not for eating, obviously.
So when the baby has his own staple diet during the Ekadashi or normal days, how do we offer him prasad because he cannot eat the normal prasad?
Then you give something else. You give abnormal prasad.
So the only concern is whatever has been offered to baby, which is, it doesn't have a lot of taste, but still can be offered to the Lord.
Yeah, you can offer.
And during Ekadashi as well, when baby cannot have the...
Babies can be given grains on Ekadashi.
Okay.
Shastra says everyone between age 8 and 80 should follow Ekadashi. So,
okay.
they have a license. But if you don't want, you can give them, the Anukalpa foods, Rajgira, Kiarta,
Okay.
you can use.
Sometimes some babies are sensitive in regards with
Yeah, but these are not questions for the. Better you ask in private. It's not.
Sorry,
So,
Hare Krishna.
it's philosophical questions are better during these talks. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a question there?
Maharaj, not related to this today's topic, it is from your Jamnagar's lecture.
Wait a minute. Put the phone off. Yeah.
The question is not from today's topic, it is from the Jamnagar's lectures of yours.
Which one?
Jamnagar's lecture you given. So in that lecture...
it means the one I gave earlier this year. One of the talks I
heard
gave
on
earlier
your
this year.
I heard on your app, so...
I see. It may be some years ago. Anyway.
So in that lecture, Maharaj, you were telling that Krishna never left the Vrindavan. So earlier I asked in some other class, other speaker, they like...
Vrindavanam parityaja napadam ekam gacchati. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami states in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. And of course we hear about Krishna's pastimes. Akrura takes Krishna out of Vrindavan. So you're wondering about the contradiction. Well, what's your hometown?
Jaipur.
Jaipur. So if we were to say that you never go out of Jaipur, would that be true? No. Because either you're in or you're out. Right? But Krishna, he can do the impossible. What for us is impossible, he can do. That's Krishna. Actually, he's always outside Vrindavan. Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto. He resides in every heart and in every atom, as well as in Goloka, in his dham. So when he never goes outside Vrindavan, that means in his, what the Gauriya Vaishnavas describe as his original form, Nanda. When he goes outside, then he imperceptibly adopts the Vasudeva feature of the Chaturvyuha. So in this way, he never goes out. But when he goes out, it's with a different mood, somewhat different mood. In Vrindavan, the mood of Madhurya is prominent. Outside Vrindavan, the pastimes of Krishna, the mood of Aishvarya, majesty is prominent. Not that it's without sweetness. So he can do everything. And he does do everything. Even when he's outside Vrindavan, he never leaves. Yeah, please give the mic.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for today's class.
Okay, that's already been said. You don't have to say it. It's like a ritual. It's said every time. Thank you very much for saying, but just ask the question.
The question is related to today's class. We've discussed about the nectar of the holy name. Although having taste for the holy name enables us to chant more and more, is it appropriate for a devotee to expect taste in his holy name while chanting holy names?
It's something to be begged for. The taste for holy names to beg for. Kobe hobe bolo shede nama. Ama aparadha guchi shuddha name ruchi kripa bole hobe hridaye shancha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur begs for the mercy to have the holy name manifested in his heart. When the offenses become cleared, then the holy names will manifest in our hearts. So we may desire that nectar within our hearts, but we have to work on cleaning out the offenses. So that means Shravan has to go side by side with Kirtan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Praise Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarapita Niyamita Smarne Nakalaha Eta Drishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Idrisham Ihajani Nanu Ragaha. I don't have taste for the holy names. Krishna manifests himself in so many names, very mercifully, but I have no taste. And that's understood. Why? My misfortune. That misfortune is that we make offenses. We should work on clearing our offenses. Don't expect that we can go to the Mumbai Chowpatty and eat pani puri and then get taste for the holy name. Go to the hot lorry on the side of the street. We can't enjoy mundane taste, sense gratification, and spiritual taste. One cancels out the other. So we have to choose which one we aspire for. Spiritual or material.
Maharaj, if you permit a follow-up, would it be appropriate to state that the tendency for enjoyment is rightly situated when a devotee begs for tasting the holy name?
Yeah, begging for tasting the holy name, but first we have to be fully situated in our understanding of ourselves as servants of the holy name. What is that? Rati age shraddha pache rupanuga balena. This Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in delineating the faults of the Prakrita Sahajiyas, Prakrita Rasha Shata Dushani. He says that I will have taste, and later we'll worry about Shraddha. Shraddha means Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Ataha Bhajana Kriya, then Anartha Nivritti. So just forget all of that and we'll just go straight to Rati. Those who are followers of Rupa Goswami don't talk such nonsense, Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says. Don't jump up ahead, step by step. Hare Krishna.